right, let's get this show on the road. Hello, everybody. Happy Halloween. I don't know who my co-host is right now.
Hello, everybody. Happy Halloween. How's it
Who
going?
who are you?
Who am I? You know who I am.
Who are
I
you?
am. I am the Death Eater from the other franchise from the other fantasy books.
That narrows it down. There's like 6 different fantasy franchises on TV right now.
No,
Shadow
but
and
there's only one.
Bone.
There's only
Uh,
one fantasy franchise that has the Death Eaters. Look at my tattoo. See?
I thought the
That's
Death Eaters
cool.
looked like Nazgul.
Well, there's something to that. Hey, how are you?
Welcome, everybody, to Torn Tuesday. It is Halloween 2023, and it is also Peter Jackson's big birthday. He is
Big
born
birthday.
on October 31st, and we celebrate every year on Halloween, and it's just so perfect that such a horror director is born on October 31st, isn't it,
Isn't
Clifford?
that cool? Yeah, that's actually, you know, it's a pretty cool day to have a birthday, actually. It's really cool. And, I'm only going to be with you folks for a short length of time on today's broadcast, just to celebrate Peter Jackson and also to talk about the new Beatles song. Um, but actually, I'm in the middle of getting ready to go out to a big street carnival that they're having in the heart of West Hollywood, where they're going to close down about 2.5 miles of Santa Monica Boulevard, closed to all vehicular traffic. There'll only be pedestrians, people in costumes. There'll be DJs, sound, lights, music, dancing, and food vendors, and lots of great costumes. So, I'm in the middle of getting everything ready, and obviously I'm not even in my costume yet. But I thought this was, for only $10, this was a pretty badass kind of mask for only $10. It's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah. You have plans for Halloween tonight? Are you going to be giving out little packets of ketchup to all the kids who come to your door tonight? Is that what you're going to do? Or are you going
No,
to give out
but
rocks?
I'll
You're
be
going to give out
celeb
rocks.
I will be celebrating. We don't need the Green Dragon gossip. I'll be celebrating all of the news that happened this week, including Lord of the Rings, Magic the Gathering, keeping Hasbro afloat. In today's annual earnings
Oh
report,
my gosh. Those
Hasbro
earnings.
announces that Lord of the Rings Magic cards propped up the entire company. And Hasbro is
Oh,
a huge company.
huge. Yeah.
But they said Hasbro president Chris Cox said that the massive popularity of the Lord of the Rings set from Magic the Gathering and the meteoric Baldur's Gate 3 video game contributed to 40% increase in earnings over last year.
That's huge. That is a lot of money. And they knew that.
In
That's why,
2023, they made $423 million between Lord of the Rings and Baldur's Gate.
that's why
So
they wanted this intellectual property. And that's why they wanted to handle it so carefully. And that's why they spent so many years really getting a good team together and consultants and artists. And they very carefully approached
incredible art
how to do it. It's
on Magic the
great what they
Gathering.
did.
Robin
Yeah,
wants to
very
know: did
satisfying.
anyone watch Nerd of the Rings opening of Magic the Gathering cards? I was there actually, and I'm so thankful for the community.
You were there.
Someone actually bought the cards that I opened. I mean, these collector packs were $50 each. The whole box I think was like $400 or $500.
Hmm.
Matt and I opened live on camera, and someone bought my deck right out from under me, and I shipped it to him, and that was so wonderful. Um,
Delightful.
the community of card openings was just so much fun. And just a few weeks ago, we opened our Secret Layer cards here, the Ralph
Ooh,
Bakshi Secret Layer
yes.
cards that
Yes, we
uh,
did.
Cliff bought a pack. I bought a pack. They won't be sold anywhere else. So we're one of the few people that got in on the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering. Talk about a sublicense of a sublicense of a sublicense of a sublicense. But
I know. I know. It's funny
So
when you think about the layers and layers of old contracts and old agreements that had to all come together for that. It's it's really a lot of fun. That was one of the most fun times that we've had in a long time. Was everybody around the world looking for that serialized One Ring and going crazy. It was so fun.
So it's huge that Hasbro, who owns Wizards of the Coast, who make
Hmm.
Magic the Gathering, Hasbro says the singular success of Lord of the Rings, Magic cards, and Baldur's Gate 3 are keeping the whole company of Hasbro afloat. And Hasbro has everything from Transformers to Battleship to, I mean, there's Hasbro is such a huge company of toys and games and everything like that. Just
You know, they also took over
incredible.
Warhammer.
Yeah. So it just Lord of the Rings is back in a big way, and thanks to
Hmm.
you all for supporting great great art. Yes,
Yeah, it's
thank
great
you,
stuff.
Irfan. Said I watched part of your gaming stream. Thank you so much. Yeah, Matt, Nerd of the Rings, roped me and Varking and several other of our Discord members into streaming on Friday night the Return to Moria video game. Again, Return to Moria just came out last week. It's kind of like Minecraft, right? Where it's best played when you team up with people. On PC, you can play up to 8 people on one server. When you start the game, you create your character and then it gives you a server code. So you can play your map by yourself and then you can share your map code and other people can join. So we all played and next thing you know, it had been 4.5 hours. Where did the time go? I don't know, but we were just exploring and digging in Moria, and I think we're gonna do it again this week. I don't know if Matt has put up his live stream event, but I streamed on Torn, and I don't know if people want to want to choose between watching either stream. I think we'll just go live on Matt's stream because that was a lot of fun to just play Return to Moria. And I know Varking is trying to figure out how to make it work on Mac. So Cliff, you might be in luck if someone
I
can
would
figure out how to
love that.
how to
I would
get
love that.
Return to Moria to open on the Mac. Um, Cliff will join
Did you
us.
guys have the same formats on the different streams? I mean, are you capable of creating the same screen and picture in picture options as Matt was doing? I mean, was the formatting the same or different
Well,
somehow?
no, it's just we're all playing the game at the same time on the same
Hmm.
servers. So people
Right.
watch my game or they can
Ah,
watch Matt's game.
okay. I was flipping back and forth between both of the streams, and I was trying to see if there was a difference in the presentation or the format because I
Yeah.
was watching both of them. It was really delightful. And gosh, a Mac version, I would love to have that ported into a Mac simulator. Let's do it. I'm there for that. That'd be really fun. I would
So
join.
it's Halloween, folks. We're glad you're here watching with us on Halloween. I hope you're giving out candy. Cliff, it sounds like you're not giving out any candy.
I'm giving out ketchup packets to kids. I'm joking. I'm totally joking. My entire building is a Halloween wonderland, and we have hundreds of kids who come every year. The neighbors downstairs have put together projections, fog machines, giant animated mannequins of witches and creatures, and we we dressed up Santa Claus as Jigsaw from the Saw movies. So the Santa Claus actually has a big jigsaw mask, and he's out there terrorizing everybody. We give away so much candy every year. Are you kidding? But I do love to make that joke about giving away rocks or pieces of charcoal or just old ketchup packets. It's kind of funny, but I'm telling you, it's going to be quite a rigorous night. There's a lot going on, lots of events here in Los Angeles, and lots of interesting things. What is Peter Jackson doing for his birthday? I wonder. Do you
Well,
imagine?
they just
Do you
announced
imagine?
we have breaking news. Uh, Disney Plus has just announced that Now and Then the Last Beatles Song is a 12-minute documentary that tells the story of the Beatles' final song ever together, which is
Yep.
releasing this week or next week.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, it's right
and
around the
this
corner.
12-minute documentary features Paul, Ringo, George, Sean Lennon, and Peter Jackson, and it starts streaming tomorrow.
Wow.
Tomorrow, Peter Jackson is on Disney Plus for a brand new 12-minute documentary
Wow.
telling the story
Wow.
of the Beatles. But the big news that broke this morning, the huge news, folks, this is breaking news as of today. It is announced Peter Jackson is officially directing the final music video for the Beatles.
That's wild. When you think about it, who would have ever thought that Peter Jackson would end up directing any video for the Beatles, much less all the Emmy Awards he won for the wonderful documentary series?
Cliff, do you remember several weeks back when right here on this show, I told you guys what Peter Jackson was up to? I believe I told you guys a couple months ago, and I've told you guys for the last few months.
Yeah.
What Peter Jackson's been up to. And I think it was about a month and a half ago. Didn't I tell you, what if Peter found a way to clean up some old tapes?
You were quite the prognosticator. That was very much, at least at the time you mentioned it, I thought that was a flight of fancy, but it ended up being quite the prognostication.
It's 100%, 100% true, guys. I wouldn't steer you wrong here. So I've been telling you guys for months, Peter Jackson was working on cleaning up some old tapes of John Lennon, and here it is, the final, all four Beatles together, it posthumously and digitally.
And do you know how this all comes back around full circle to The Lord of the Rings? Because there was a lot of effort at the time in the late 60s for the Beatles and Apple Films, which was their film company, not related to what would later be the Apple Computer Company. But Apple Films was all up in the rights with J.R.R. Tolkien, trying to get, the early, pre-production on all four, the Fab Four, being in The Lord of the Rings, with George Harrison being Gandalf, and Paul McCartney being Frodo, John Lennon being Smeagol, Gollum, and I'm not sure who Ringo was going to play. I'd have to think about that for a second. But oh my goodness, that was really going to happen. That was really going to happen.
They kept a tight lid on this, so but I got whispers of it through the various sparrows in our nest, and there we are. So you guys, this is huge news as of today. Peter Jackson is directing the last music video. It gets better, because this article on thebeatles.com, yes, their official website, thebeatles.com, he has a long interview.
That's so cool.
Video, the documentary premieres tomorrow. The song debuts online on Friday.
Oh, that's right. Ringo was going to be Samwise. Ringo was going to play Samwise. Thank you, Arne, for telling us that.
This is a huge article, and I think, I don't know if Demosthenes is watching, but maybe we should write a homepage article about this. But I wanted to call your attention. This is all Peter Jackson talking about directing the last music video for the Beatles on the last song that he co-produced and used his digital tools to enhance. Folks, this is Peter Jackson. Quote, "I knew the Beatles don't take no for an answer, and their minds are set on something, but they didn't even wait for me to say no. I found myself swept along as they quickly addressed my concerns. Paul and Ringo shot footage of themselves performing and sent that to me. Apple unearthed over 14 hours of long-forgotten film shot during the 1995 recording sessions, the last time that the Beatles did their reunion. And they released 2 new songs. So in 1995, he's got 14 hours of footage, including several hours of Paul, George, and Ringo working on Now and Then, this song. And they gave that all to me. Sean and Olivia found some great unseen home movie footage and sent that. To cap things off, a few precious seconds of the Beatles performing in their leather suits. The earliest known film of the Beatles, and never seen before, was kindly supplied by Pete Best. This is huge news, huge news for Beatles fans. Peter Jackson has obtained never before seen footage of the Beatles and Pete Best together performing in their leather outfits that they got famous with.
Wow.
Cliff, this is Peter Jackson's going to win an Emmy again on this. Peter has the only footage of the Beatles performing with Pete Best, not photos, not stories, but actual footage of the Beatles and Pete Best, along with a bunch of 1995 footage. This is really a dream come true for all Beatles fans.
It is. And it is all the more remarkable that there really is more left in the archives that they've never released. That's remarkable to me. That's really interesting that we're here decades later and they still have things that have not been released. And it's just a surprise to me, quite a surprise. You'd think they would have tried to monetize that and use that somehow years ago, but somebody told me, a little birdie told me, that there was some AI involved in doing some of the cleanup of the vocals in this.
Oh, a lot. This was a cassette tape, just like your uncle has a bunch of cassette tapes. This was a cassette tape that John Lennon had recorded in his home in New York. Just a cassette tape on top of a piano. He just hit record and pounded some keys and sang some song. The quality was terrible. And the documentary is going to be really interesting to watch tomorrow because the quality was so bad. Peter Jackson's magic that he used on the Emmy Award-winning Beatles documentary that came out last year,
Get Back,
was used to enhance the song and the vocals to make it sound as good as recorded today.
It's insane. This is really kind of cool. Well, I mean, it is ironic, maybe, in some cosmic, funny way, that even before Peter Jackson was even, born.
By the way, this is Peter Jackson's very first music video. How many big name directors got their start in music videos? David Fincher.
Definitely. Yes.
Almost every major film director nowadays of Peter Jackson's age group got their start in music videos. Peter Jackson got his start in low budget horror movies, which is like the second most popular path to success. So this is Peter Jackson's very first music video, and there will be no CGI Beatles.
No CGI Beatles at all. No, but I just think it's crazy. The overall scope of this is that the Beatles were into the Lord of the Rings before Peter Jackson was born. And now here he is so much later resuscitating their career with a song that's never been heard before. After he's made a name for himself, leaving behind the name horror director or indie horror director. Peter Jackson left that behind as a title a long time ago. He is a world-renowned filmmaker, director, and a creative powerhouse. And he's transformed the film industry in the country of New Zealand. Let's just say that. It's just amazing. He was just an embryo. He was an ovum when the Beatles were making all their first records. And now here he is, ready to resuscitate their career.
Peter Jackson, quote,
amazing.
Peter Jackson says, quote, "We wanted the short film, the music video, to bring a few tears to the eye.
Oh,
but generating emotion using only archive footage is a tricky thing. Fortunately, the simple power of this beautiful song did a lot of the work for us. And we finished the first 30 or 40 seconds of the music video fairly quickly. Folks, this might be the greatest music video ever put out. It's Peter Jackson's first music video, the only footage of Pete Best, never before seen, performing with the Beatles, and a song about the passage of time. It's called Now and Then. The song is called Now and Then. Cliff, it's hard
it's
to
nuts.
overstate how huge this is in all aspects.
It's nuts because Pete Best, and this is context that none of our audience might immediately know. There's a bit of a generation slide in between the older and younger members of our community. But do you guys realize that Pete Best was the Beatle that almost wasn't? I mean, definitely wasn't. He was dismissed from the band immediately before they became a worldwide famous powerhouse of rock and roll. He was dismissed from the band before they became the Beatles worldwide. So that's amazing to have found that old footage. It's amazing, really.
Danny Harrison is George Harrison's son, a music guy on his own. Danny is just a wonderful person. I've met him here in LA a couple times. And Danny has been responsible for making new music videos with Fred Armisen and several other wonderful people for George's music. If you go to YouTube and search for George Harrison, there are music videos produced in the last 5 years using 40 or 50-year-old songs, but with with a new music video. So Peter Jackson says, I realized we needed the imagination of every viewer to do what we couldn't as the filmmakers, and have each viewer create their own personal moment of farewell to the Beatles. Fortunately, Danny Harrison, George's son, happened to be in New Zealand at the time. I discussed this ending with him and described one vague idea I'd been toying with. His eyes immediately filled with tears. So that is the way we went. Folks, Peter Jackson just describing the ending of this music video to George's son made George's son cry.
Oh, wow. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to see this tomorrow. I can't wait. It's going to be so great. This is going to be so exciting.
So excited. This is Peter Jackson at the top of his game. And you want to know why we all want Peter back in the mix with Lord of the Rings movies? It's because in one 4-minute song, Peter Jackson can make people cry describing his music video. This is the power of storytelling that Peter Jackson just has in his bones. The fact that just him describing what he wants to do can make people cry. This man gets it. He understands emotion. He understands humanity. He understands fame and legacy like no one else. This is like, I don't know, doing a music video for the Beatles. It's like building a show around Galadriel and Celebrimbor and Sauron, like the biggest names in the history of Middle Earth, that forever and all time, the biggest names in the history of Middle Earth. He is doing that here with the Beatles in one music video at a time. It's crazy that he's already making people cry.
I'm all for it. I'm delighted by this concept. I'm still surprised that it's happening. And it's just very interesting. The whole history of the band, and the fact that they have these tools now, the technology now, that they can put these things together. The way that Peter, as an archivist, is not considered, people don't even use that word. And Justin, come along with me now, because we're talking about the World War I documentary, They Shall Not Grow Old. We're talking about his work with the Beatles and restoring the footage from the Get Back recording sessions. we're talking about him as an archivist now. Instead of him running around making massive blockbuster movies that are pure fiction, like King Kong, Lord of the Rings, Peter has decided to really, really shift gears as a director, as a creative talent. And great poll. I love the poll. I want to ask everyone to think for a second of how Peter is steering his later career in a different direction. He's not as interested in doing, oh yeah, 3 big movies, another big, huge franchise. He's interested in working as an archivist, as a documentarian. That is a singular, fascinating direction that none of us really expected him to go in his later career. It's just fascinating to me. And as a documentarian, he is able to bring incredible amounts of resources and new tech and wonderful post-production people. He has so much at his disposal there in that massive filmmakers community and that production community that's in Wellington. But for him to switch gears to being a documentarian is deeply fascinating, and it is to his credit that he's able to switch gears. There's not a lot of people in life. No, Werner Herzog did it. Werner Herzog went from
I don't think he switched at all, because
nonfiction.
It's a big switch. It's not a switch at all, Cliff, because the appendices that were included with all of the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films are the best documentaries on filmmaking ever made. 24 hours of
that's all
documentary footage.
Creation. That was Michael Pellerin's creation.
That was Michael Pellerin working with Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson, of course, has a producer credit on those documentaries. Pellerin, wonderful storyteller and filmmaker, but Peter Jackson let that happen. Peter Jackson wanted that to happen. Peter Jackson hired a second documentary guy because he loves documentaries so much, the Costa Botes.
Costa Botes. Yes, right? That's right.
I think Peter Jackson has always loved documentary. In fact, he was sending us during King Kong, he was sending the OneRing.net weekly documentary clips, 10-minute videos.
Production diaries. They were production diaries. From they were fabulous.
So I'm telling you, is not a change of career. I think Peter and Michael Pellerin won all of the awards you could for the making of Lord of the Rings, the appendices bonus features. And I think he's always had it in him, and he's always loved telling how he did it. I think this is just the ultimate phase. I mean, he's reached the pinnacle. He won the Emmy. He won the Emmy Award for Best Documentary at this year's Emmys. I mean, he's hit the mountaintop yet again with the Beatles.
Yes.
We have, I believe they just posted a clip. Let me see if I can bring this up. By the way, Radio Times Magazine. Look at that. The 4 Beatles on the cover. What year is it? Is it 1965? How they made the Beatles' final recordings. Peter Jackson's, of course, interviewed in this. Pick up this issue. I promise you, this will be a collector's item. I promise you this will be this. And then they just posted this to Twitter, the Beatles.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you just give me a little bit of his original demo? Just sort of hear how he's playing the piano.
Yeah. We'll come in after this.
Yeah. Verse 3 could be like the intro again, you know. Start again.
Whoa, when are we ever going to get to sleep?
Now, that's a good question.
No rest for the wicked.
D-I-N, son. Do it now.
Come in, back it up a bit.
Can I just hear Johnson?
Wow, that clip doesn't tell you anything, but it tells you everything.
Indeed.
Again, this is all from a cassette tape. They pulled this audio from a cassette tape, and using Peter Jackson's and Weta effects, incredible technology that they used on Get Back, brought John Lennon's vocal to life 40 years after his death.
Wow.
So just incredible, incredible that this is happening tomorrow. So Peter Jackson, his birthday gift is a gift to all Beatles fans, basically.
Indeed.
Because this
Indeed.
comes out November 1st, which is, it's right now. If I look at my clock, yes, it is November 1st in Wellington right now. So technically, it's out already in Wellington while it's October 31st here. So happy birthday, Peter. And thank you for the gift that you've given us with the Beatles. I'm so excited for this video that is making George Harrison's son cry. Just
I'm so excited about this.
Just from a description.
Can't wait. Cannot wait for this.
I hope that all of this energy, and he wins another Emmy, I hope all of this energy that Peter's putting toward the Beatles will reinvigorate his desire to come back to Middle Earth and say, we have more stories to tell.
That would be lovely. That would be lovely. I'm down for that. I just hope that I just hope that the song charts. I really want to see a new Beatles song appear in the Billboard Hot 100. I want to see if this song charts. That'd be so cool. That would be ridiculous.
I have no doubt.
It'd be so cool.
I have no doubt. Like every record store that still exists in the UK are doing midnight releases to buy the vinyl. So tomorrow on Disney Plus, you can watch a 12-minute documentary. This song will be out on all the streaming platforms and for digital download and for purchase. Peter Jackson has directed his first music video. I'm sure that will be available on YouTube because all music videos are on YouTube and all the other music platforms like Apple Music and Spotify. So I believe Peter Jackson's music video, I don't know if it'll be part of the 12-minute documentary on Disney Plus. Maybe that's just a documentary. Maybe they show the music video at the end of the documentary. I don't know. But the music video itself, I'm sure, will be on YouTube because every watch on YouTube counts toward making it chart on Billboard. Yeah. If you weren't familiar with the updated rules of Billboard charts, Cliff wanted this to chart. Well, every view and every stream of the song and the video count toward getting it on the charts.
Robin Smallborough in the chat says, I can watch this now. I suspect it will be number one within an hour.
Robin is in...
Are you in the UK?
No, she's in Australia, Brisbane area.
That's right.
There you go.
Wonderful. That's exciting.
So it's out now, man. Look at this. It's Peter's birthday, and he's giving us the gift.
The gifts.
It's incredible. Speaking of gifts, Peter has given even more gifts. And guys, we love Peter for the appendices. We just talked about it. We love Peter for Lord of the Rings. We love Peter for the Beatles. Cliff, I'm going to give you another reason to love Peter Jackson.
Tell me.
Recent reports in the last few weeks, Lord of the Lands, Sir Peter Jackson has a $350 million property empire. He's taken the hundreds of millions of dollars he earned from selling Weta and the hundreds of millions and the tens of millions he's earned from the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies and all of his other movies. But he made $1 billion off of selling Weta. Peter Jackson, in the last few weeks, has purchased... Let me find it. Peter Jackson buys New Zealand property to thwart controversial development. Let me see if I can make this bigger. So it turns out that some housing developers wanted to develop a coastal area of Wellington into apartments and shops. And you know the whole, development thing? It was going to be a $300 million new thing with 350 apartments, a boutique hotel, and a brewery right on the coast of Wellington.
And he's trying to protect this land. it
Well,
seems.
so here's what happened, and I did some digging last night.
Yeah.
This property was taken over by the New Zealand government from the Maori people during World War One, during wartime, and they built a barracks for a military barracks for military purposes during World War One. About 10 or 15 years ago, the New Zealand government corrected the mistake and re-gifted it back to the native Maori people.
Maori, I think.
Maori. Unfortunately, there was a few Maori people in leadership of the Maori tribe that sold it to developers. I guess under very shady circumstances without total agreement from the Maori tribe. And for the last 2 or 3 years, there has been a protest, a sit-in protest, where Maori people have been occupying the land on the beach of Wellington to prevent developers from developing it. And it's become a huge thing, and it went to the courts and everything like that. Peter Jackson, a few weeks ago, has just decided to end it all by buying the property and announcing that he's not going to develop it. This is dated September 2023. It was a $298 million project that divided local residents. Suffice to say, Peter Jackson says, suffice to say, we are looking forward to restoring the natural beauty of the bay. The couple, Fran Walsh and Peter Jackson, say they plan to look at ways it could be used for both arts and recreation. So Peter has used his money to solve an environmental issue, an environmental crisis of losing. And we have a satellite photo or a helicopter photo of this. Again, let's bring this up. This is what Peter Jackson just saved. Look at that, folks. Some developer wanted to build a $300 million brewery, apartments, condo.
Wow.
And all the locals basically said, there's only one road in, and that is along the coastline. If you're going to have 350 apartments, if you're going to have 1,000 new people living here, there's not enough resources. There's not enough roads. What if there's an emergency? There's not enough roads to get in or out. There's only one road. The traffic's going to be nuts if you add 1,000 residences to this area. So Peter Jackson has purchased this plot of land, and he says, shut it down. It's staying as a clean bay.
I love that man so much for doing that. I really do. And that's so rare, so rare. It never happens in Los Angeles, that's for sure. Some greedy developer will look at something and say, oh, yeah, look at that. Beautiful marshlands and the Playa del Rey marshlands. And you know what? We're going to develop right on top of it. That's why Electronic Arts caused such a big controversy all those years ago when they decided to build their EA campus, which we have visited, right there over the protected wetlands near the Marina del Rey, which is a harbor. It's a freshwater bird sanctuary and wildlife sanctuary in those protected wetlands right there near Marina del Rey.
And
so
they've done a good
here it
job
is.
Protecting it. So Peter Jackson has put
here's
his
Peter
money
Jackson. Yeah,
where his
exactly.
mouth is.
I was just gonna say that.
He's an environmentalist, Cliff. Like this guy,
that's great.
This guy has $1 billion in the bank. He's doing stuff with the Beatles. Warner Brothers is practically begging him to return to Middle Earth. He can do whatever he wants, and him and Fran Walsh are still thinking about nature and preserving nature.
It's wonderful. It's so wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Such good news.
This is another reason why he needs to return to Middle Earth. even if it's not directing, even if it's just kind of a supervisory role like Kevin Feige or Kathleen Kennedy, right? The fact is, through these actions of hundreds of millions of dollars of his own money, he's proven that his mind is on the right stuff. His mind, his soul is an environmentalist.
And he's not sitting on his hands, wasting time. He's using his money for purpose, with good intention. And that's great stuff. And you rarely see that.
And we
it's
need
something
that,
to be celebrated. Yeah.
We need that message in our Middle Earth media. We want stories of the Ents. We want the stories of natural destruction. It's one of the things that I think a lot of fans were looking forward to in Rings of Power. This idea that Numenor falls because they treat the land poorly across Middle Earth. They fell the forests to build their boats. They're not very kind traders with the peoples of Middle Earth. Nobody likes Numenorians. So from an environmental aspect,
yes,
there's a reason not to like Numenorians. But we didn't get any of that in season 1 of Rings of Power.
Not yet.
But
no,
we can get. This is what I mean. Peter Jackson would infuse whatever story is being told with this respect for nature. And if Peter Jackson did produce a young Aragorn movie with Viggo Mortensen directing and writing, you better believe it will have not only themes, overtones of respect for nature.
Yes. Oh, yes. There is hardly a character on screen who is more respectful of everything around him than Aragorn. And there was something about the way Viggo brought that. There was something very, very deliberate about the way that Viggo portrayed Aragorn, Strider, as being really, really extra sensory aware and considerate of and respectful of everything that's going on around him. It's remarkable. And I would love to see some of that come back. You know, you'd have to cast a whole different person, and you could have young Aragorn go on many, many adventures and meet many other characters in Middle Earth. Lots of stuff could happen. Lots of things. I love that idea. I've always loved that idea, really. Always.
Well, so there you have it. As of a few weeks ago, Peter Jackson is now the owner of this perfect little Wellington Bay.
Oh, I love it.
And he's just on the right path. Speaking of, let's go back to
are we going to talk about
$350 million property empire? That is just one part of it. Again, and nobody knows how much he paid for that, but he's got the money. He paid enough to make everybody walk away.
Yes. So no other developers are going to be sniffing around looking for a chance to get in there. Yeah.
He paid whatever developers needed to just walk away.
Wow.
I wanted to bring this up. Peter Jackson's main house in Masterson that he built during Lord of the Rings, during Two Towers. Let me see if I can.
I thought that was in Miramar.
He's got like 8 different properties. So here is his main house. It's huge. He bought all the land. You can see kind of where his land is. It's right next to a golf course. You can see that. It's right next to a riverbed. And it's just beautiful.
It is lovely.
Huge estates all around. But I wanted to bring this up because Peter Jackson recreates Bilbo's bag end in his basement.
Oh gosh,
the Hollywood Reporter
is
reporting on something that Stuff got. Stuff magazine interviewed Bino Smith, who was a Weta artist, and Peter hired him to build out his house. And he says, quote, "Bag End is the underground. You have to go under tunnels to get to it." He added, "You got the house. Then you go down to the wine cellar of Peter Jackson's house, and you pull a specific bottle, and it opens up a door.
Oh
and you
dear.
Step out from the wine cellar, and you look down this corridor. It's about 35 meters, about 100 feet, and they built it all from scratch. And there's a skeleton and some bodies and some treasure chests. And then you come out to a mock torture chamber, similar to what Gandalf saw in the Hobbit movies. I believe he was in Gundabad.
No, he was in Dol Guldur.
He was in Dol Guldur. You come out to a mock torture chamber, and there's a bookcase, and you pull a specific book, and a second secret door opens from the secret passage. And the bookcase opens, and you walk in to Bag End, fully recreated.
Oh my goodness.
They built Peter Jackson in this house underground. He built a full Bag End, probably from parts from the movie that we saw in The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson officially built Bag End in his house, and you access it through 2 hidden doors, pulling a wine bottle and then a secret. Yes, it does. Chat room. It does remind me of the Barbarian movie a little bit, but instead of despair, you walk into Bag End at the end. Susan, yes, it is a dream house. It is, but Cliff,
it really is.
How like George Lucas obviously built Skywalker Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
And built a big library of all of his favorite authors at Skywalker Ranch, and then built all these things. Again, Peter Jackson, he's not done with Middle Earth. He built Bag End in his house. There's no way he's done producing Middle Earth. What do you think?
No. Actually, if he's done, then he's done, because he's done the 6 films. But if he wants to do anything else, it might be different from what we've seen before. It might be in the world of Oculus. It might be a VR creation. It might be a video game. It might be, it might be a nonfiction. What if he wants to do a nonfiction documentary about the life of J.R.R. Tolkien? See what I'm saying? If you're talking about Peter Jackson coming back into the game for doing Lord of the Rings content, it might not be, he wants to jump in and do a few episodes of season 4 of The Rings of Power. I don't think that's it. I think he might surprise us by doing something relatively different, like a VR world, or maybe a life story about Tolkien himself. You don't know. You really don't know.
I want him producing Lord of the Rings movies, even if he doesn't direct.
Well,
Cliff, have you been up to Hearst Castle?
I get that.
William Randolph
it's extraordinary.
Hearst. How does that compare to what we just described?
Oh, it's nothing at all. That doesn't compare at all. I mean, the Hearst Castle is an overblown, over-exaggerated, over-the-top. Everything is over the top. And it's a case study in excessiveness. I don't think that what you're talking about with Peter Jackson is anything more than satisfying his personal experiences and his personal, weird tastes of, recreating movie sets in his home. That's, I don't think it's quite the same level as what happened with Hearst's Castle. Yeah, but anyway.
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to what Peter's going to bring us tomorrow with the Beatles, and I'm looking forward to him coming back to produce or direct or do something that's in Middle Earth. But I'm just adding my little caveat emptor that it might be something we're not thinking of. It might be something we don't expect. Something a lot less obvious.
Well, I don't think they've announced it yet, but I'm telling you, my little birdies told me that Peter Jackson is still working on part 2 of Get Back. Yes,
oh my goodness, really?
Get Back was 3 episodes,
wow.
but
That's so great.
There's a second
so
half
great.
of Get Back is the actual breakup of the Beatles, and Peter Jackson
Oh
is
my goodness.
working on a documentary,
Wow.
that a multi-part documentary, just like Get Back. It'll be Get Back 2, where he documents
Mm.
the uh the breakup of the Beatles and then what happened after. And he has footage of the boys signing the divorce papers.
Oh
He has
goodness, that's weird. That's
footage
weird.
of John and Yoko getting married. He's got
No one. Oh my
he's
goodness.
got footage of all this stuff. He's got footage of the boys going to India. I mean, just there's so much. If you want to be Peter Jackson's neighbor at this grand, huge estate, again, look at how big the parcels are around Peter in Masterson. This is still the Wellington area. It's about 90 minutes from Wellington Airport.
Wow.
Fernside is for sale. Another giant house, a 27-acre estate built for a wool baron in the 19th century, is for sale. It's a huge classic, it's a classic estate. It looks like a classic estate. This is down the road from Peter's current house. It's listed for $5 million. The interesting thing that you guys should know is this estate is where Peter filmed 2 important scenes in Lord of the Rings. One of them was when Galadriel is bidding adieu to the Fellowship with her gifts, and there's a river and a little elven bridge. You can see that in the center there. Let me see if I can bring that up. These are terrible photos. I didn't have time to get screen grabs. This estate includes a garden with that bridge. That bridge existed already, and all Weta did is add the elvish ornamentation up top. But the bridge is the bridge that has always been on the property. This is also the property where Gollum, or where Smeagol and Deagle find the ring and get in a fight. So this property has a river on it, and Peter Jackson filmed there. So
that is super exciting. Really interesting.
It's for sale. So as part of these gardens, you can see this picture of the gardens here. As part of these gardens, you also get the river where Smeagol found the ring, and the river where Galadriel, and the bridge where Galadriel waved goodbye to the Fellowship. So and this just happens to be down the road from Peter Jackson's big house with a secret hobbit hole behind 2 secret doors.
Wow.
Peter can do anything he wants. And is he coming back to Warner Brothers? This is where he left it. When they announced all of this stuff earlier this year, he says, Warner Brothers and Embracer have kept us in the loop every step of the way. We look forward to speaking with them further to hear their vision for the franchise moving forward. That's the only thing Peter has said about the current state of affairs, but it does confirm that Warner Brothers and Embracer have kept Peter Jackson in the loop every step of the way. So, can Peter be brought to the table? I think it just comes down to money. I think Peter is so good of a filmmaker. Even on Peter Jackson's worst day, Battle of Five Armies, still better than everything that the DCEU has put out since. Like Peter Jackson just prints money when it comes to great storytelling. He really does. So give him whatever. I say Warner Brothers gives him whatever he wants. Whatever he wants. If he wants 40% of the gross, give it to him. Because you're going to make more money with Peter than with anyone else.
Yep. I believe that. I believe that's true.
And I think Peter Jackson overseeing, like Kevin Feige, a series of filmmakers, maybe Viggo Mortensen directing and writing, maybe some other auteurs from the horror industry being brought up under Peter Jackson's. I mean, Mortal Engines, he did that with Mortal Engines. Christian Rivers, longtime employee of Weta, and he helped Christian Rivers do Mortal Engines.
And be the director,
That movie was 10 years too late because audiences had moved on from that type of storytelling, but it looks great. Yeah. It's shot well, and I'm telling you, I think Peter Jackson, especially now that he's worked with the Beatles and Cliff, it's so hard to work with the Beatles because they are the alphas. They are probably the hardest people to work with in the entertainment biz.
I can imagine that easily.
So
that's understandable.
Peter has found a way to work with them, all of them, and their estates, and their heirs, and their sons, and their daughters, and their wives. Peter Jackson has gone through the ringer working with the Beatles, and he's won an Emmy. So I think he's ready. I think he's learned a lot in the last 10 years. I think Peter really is ready to step up, and I hope he can make a deal.
I think so too. But if there's anybody who's going to give us some surprises of what their next career move is going to be, Peter Jackson is definitely the most talented man in the room, and he's the person who's going to surprise us the most, I think, with whatever his next evolutionary step in his process towards being a better filmmaker and a better storyteller. And he's one of the best. And, it's great. It's just great to hear all these fascinating things that he's doing.
But Cliff, the discussion in Discord this week has been cautious when talking about Peter Jackson. I don't think everybody is fully on board and excited about the idea of Peter returning. They want fresh perspectives.
Well, that's why I said that he might do something, and he might know that too. He might feel that way too. So that's why I'm suggesting the idea that Peter might do something else that is a nonfiction or a completely different approach to talking about the world of Tolkien. We'll see. What if he does a documentary about the Inklings, and he wants to tell us all about Williams and Lewis and Tolkien?
I don't think that's big enough for him. I think he needs to swing big. Do you think Rings of Power would have turned out differently if Amazon had returned his call about his offer to just consult?
Yeah, I do. Yep, I do believe that would be the case.
This is what I mean. Like you don't have. Peter can give someone creative control, but Peter, through his companies Weta and Weta Digital and Weta Workshop with Richard Taylor, like, you have this huge brain trust. If he's just overseeing it as an executive producer and supporting new voices, it's the best of both worlds. And I think Rings of Power has really shown us that you need an adult in the room that is championing Tolkien at all times.
Yes.
Right?
I agree. Yeah, I do agree.
And the biggest critical response to Rings of Power was, what happened to Tolkien? Where is the Tolkien in this? It disappeared. And with Peter Jackson spending his money on environmental issues and spending his money supporting, those of that come before, and working with the Beatles and making Danny Harrison cry, like, Peter just gets it. Peter just gets it. And we need that. We need that involvement. Not just a consultant, but we need that leadership.
I agree. And you know what? I I can understand other people in the Discord being a little bit muted in their enthusiasm, but there's no reason. You guys can be super fully enthused about anything that Peter Jackson is about to do. And he's proving it over and over again. And I think he'll prove it again tomorrow when we hear and witness this new approach to the Lost Beatles song.
Cliff, do you want to reply to Anonymous Girl here? She says, I think the Tolkien estate doesn't want Peter Jackson involved in any way.
In Rings of Power? Well, that I don't know about that. Well, there's a different branch of the family that is running the show now that Christopher Tolkien is gone. And that, you got to regard that for a minute. It might be important to make that distinction, and Justin, you can back me up, that Simon Tolkien is the guy who made a separate deal for using the appendices for a second age story and licensed that to Prime Video, right?
Right.
That's right. So there might be other members of the family, and we don't know. There might be other members of the estate that have very different feelings about, Peter Jackson coming back. And, I'm definitely happy to have Peter bring that Midas touch to anything and everything related to Middle-earth. So that's just my personal opinion. I'm not lukewarm about that at all.
Well,
but, I do wonder. Anonymous Girl is I appreciate that because, maybe Rings of Power might benefit from not having Peter come anywhere near it, and it can be its own distinct and separate thing.
I think it just needs to get weird. The farther away you can get from Peter, and the weirder it can get with the talking creatures and the bombadils and everything like that, and the thinking fox,
talking
Cliff,
eagles.
Do you want to respond to this? Monica says, "I feel that Peter Jackson might not want to be typecast as Mr. Middle-earth."
That's already done. That already exists.
He built a hobbit hole in his house.
That already exists.
The whole point of me telling you guys about that is to tell you he lives and breathes this as much as we do.
Yeah,
he's not afraid of getting typecast as that.
I'm afraid I have to run to the kitchen. Give me a second.
All right, while Cliff is there, one last note. We reported, if you go to theonering.net, there's more details and a link to other articles. But the Tolkien pub, Eagle and Child, which has been closed since the pandemic and didn't look like it was going to reopen, has been purchased. One of the Oxford colleges, I believe it's St. James Oxford College, has sold the entire block that the Eagle and Child are on to Larry Ellison, the Oracle, from Oracle, a big tech company. Larry Ellison is close personal friends, was with Steve Jobs. He's friends with Peter Thiel and the Palantir folks. In fact, he almost bought Palantir a few years ago. Tolkien Pub, Eagle and Child, to be resurrected by Larry Ellison. They plan on turning the entire block into a technology hub, and because he wants to introduce the Ellison Institute of Technology at Oxford, and hopefully in the far future, maybe get accredited as an official Oxford College of Technology, something that Oxford currently doesn't have. So he's going to redevelop the whole block. I believe they're keeping the buildings, but they're going to make it, the insides, a little more like public meeting spaces, hangout, free Wi-Fi. But he has said specifically, the Ellison Institute of Technology has said specifically, even if they change everything on the block, the Eagle and Child remains the same, and especially the Inklings Corner that Tolkien and C.S. Lewis frequented is going to remain unchanged. So he is a Tolkien fan by heart, and he's making sure that in the midst of everything, he's going to make sure that Tolkien is still done right. I was there.
Well, I don't want to be too cynical about that, but I hope these promises are true, that there is a very specific preservation effort to keep the Eagle and Child the way it is.
And you can see, I took a couple pictures there when Amazon invited us over for the London 30 event. That is the block. The Eagle and Child is 3 stories tall. Of course, the pub is on the bottom floor. And it's abutted by other buildings that go all the way blocked down on the left. It is a wide open road. I'm there in the middle of across the road. You can see how wide it is. So the Eagle and Child is coming back. I don't expect it to be open for another year or two while other stuff is getting rebuilt, but I hope they open it sooner than later.
That is one of the most fascinating stories in Tolkien fandom to happen this whole week, to be honest. Is this
Cliff,
weird?
But Cliff, I want to get your emotional reaction. When I told you that Larry Ellison, the tech guy, was buying the Eagle and Child, what was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was, oh God, how awful. They're going to turn it into a WeWork community office building. That's what I suspected.
They did announce that they're kind of doing that. It's a communal tech workspace with hangout, free Wi-Fi, and office rooms and meeting rooms if you want to book them. So it is.
You know what else? You know what else they're doing? If they don't do the right preservation work, then it's just going to be gross, what you'd call a gross modernization of the old buildings in the area.
Modernized. I don't think Oxford's going to allow that. Like glass and
what it
steel.
Sounds like. That's what it sounds like.
I don't think the outside is going to look like that. I think the insides will, but I think the outsides are going to keep their character. I don't know, but time will tell. But we've been told that the Eagle and Child itself will remain intact, and especially Tolkien's corner. Well, in that light,
they better.
When you had that reaction to Ellison buying Eagle and Child, it made me think of, if they announce anybody other than Peter Jackson taking over the reins of Lord of the Rings movies at Warner's, I feel like that's going to be the same reaction. I think Peter Jackson is such an easy home run for fans, filmmakers, for making money and making fans happy and doing right by Tolkien. Nobody does it better than Peter.
Right, that's true. Well, the Eagle and Child had taken a hit a few years ago from some other group that bought it and did some renovations to it and turned some of the space into Airbnb rentals. And that was enough of a caustic change to upset me. I didn't want it to be changed at all. I mean, even back then, much less have it be changed all over again now by these tech bros who probably have less consideration for the culture of it and the historical significance of it than anybody else. So
and that's
I have a very dim view of this, actually.
And
so
that's what people were nervous about Amazon buying Lord of the Rings TV rights. Tech bros, tech culture, data-driven tech culture. Informing creative decisions with Middle Earth. Middle Earth is not data. The data is wrong when it comes to Middle Earth. So,
well, I believe that. Well, we're gonna have to watch very carefully and see. And
the chat room confirms, Cliff. We're happy to report, Imran. Thank you. The Eagle and Child is a Class 2. A grade 2 listed building, which means the outside aesthetic has to remain, but the insides can be gutted and turned into whatever they want. But the outside remains the same. If it was a Class 1 listed building, they would have to preserve the interior also, but that's not the case. So the outside is changing, the inside is going modern. But we're told the pub itself and the Tolkien's Inklings Corner will remain the same.
That's just okay.
Daisy is still nervous. It sounds like you're nervous, Cliff.
I'm very disturbed and nervous, and I have as I just said a second ago, I have a very dim view of this. And I don't think it's going to turn out well. They're going to do some ugly hyper modernization to make the inside of the Eagle and Child look like an Apple store. Nobody wants that. But if they do any preservation, like, oh, there's one fireplace in one corner and one bench, is that all that's going to be left of it? That's kind of sad.
But free Wi-Fi.
Well, we'll see. Oh, to hell with that. Well, I'm afraid that I have to book it. I got to get out of here. And
all right. We had a poll going on during the show. Do you want Peter Jackson back in an official capacity? 93% said yes. 93% on our
out of
poll
14 votes
on YouTube said
yes.
We want Peter Jackson back. And so, Cliff, happy birthday to Peter. Happy Halloween. It is out in New Zealand. The Beatles documentary is out in Australia and New Zealand. It will be out November 1st. Everywhere on Disney Plus, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Music, everywhere. And Peter,
very exciting.
Peter Jackson has directed his very first music video with exclusive footage, never before seen footage of Pete Best performing with the Beatles. And that's the start of the music video. And the ending of the music video is described so emotional that it made George Harrison's son cry just talking about it before they even edited it together.
I am a quiver with anticipation for that. Looking forward to that. So much so that we're going to have another special edition of Torn Wednesday tomorrow afternoon to talk about it. Okay? We need a special edition of Torn Wednesday tomorrow. Let's talk about it. Okay? I'm very excited about that.
And I think we'll be live on Nerd of the Rings channel this Friday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, this same time.
Yes.
But I think we'll just go on Nerd of the Rings channel. I don't know if it was worth going live on Torn. So make sure you subscribe and get your notifications turned on. Make sure the alert button, the little ringy bell icon, and subscribe and alerts are turned on for Nerd of the Rings channel. He's so close to 1 million subscribers. We want to get him to 1 million. Close. We're going to stream exclusively with the whole group of Tolkien fans on Return to Moria this Friday night. And I think we're going to have some fun. Cliff, you're going to have some amazing fun tonight. Enjoy yourself.
Yes.
Be safe.
I am. I'm going to have a really, really great time. And I'm going to try not to... Expecto Patronum a bit too much. Isn't this creepy? Is this mask crazy?
I guess. I don't know.
It's a crazy mask. So, yeah, time for me to go Expecto Patronum. I love you guys, and thank you very much for being with us. All the beautiful people in the live chat, and my kitty cat screaming for dinner in the background. And you, Justin, you, sir. Thank you, good sir, for putting us together in front of these monitors so we can talk to the good people around the world. I'm excited for Peter Jackson's wonderful birthday, and also, past tense, we just recently celebrated 2 days ago a double birthday of Ralph Bakshi and Jed Brophy. Same day.
Wow.
Our favorite goblin, elf, dwarf actor, Mr. Jed Brophy.
The only actor to be in every Middle-earth
in all
live action, Rings of Power, Hobbit, and Lord of the Rings.
And the 6 films, and the TV show. And then on the same birthday with the great pioneer of adult animation, Ralph Bakshi, who created the very first film version of The Lord of the Rings.
85.
It's amazing. Wonderful birthday to all of you folks out there. And have a safe Halloween tonight, everybody. Be safe. You, Kat, you are not going outside, especially not tonight, because people are not generally nice to cats on Halloween. So you're staying indoors tonight, boo. My cat's going crazy. Beautiful audience, beautiful people. Thank you for being with us. And we will see you again next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here on Torn Tuesday. My name is Clifford Broadway. You can find me on all social channels, on Twitter and Instagram at QuickBeam2000. And that guy right over there, that's Justin's big idea. That's him. And where are we? We're at TheOneRing Net. Take out the dot, and you can follow us on all of our socials at TheOneRing Net. Until next week, you guys do be careful and look out for one another, all right? Lots of love to the whole worldwide audience. And until next week, good night and good luck. Or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye, everybody.
Bye.